All right, let's talk about something that might just flip what you think you know about honoring your ancestors. We tend to think of rituals as these duties we perform for those who have passed on. But what if the real path, the true way to help them, is actually about something much closer to home? Let's get into it.
Wow, okay. Let's just start right there with this bombshell of a quote. The point here is that when you try to outsource these incredibly personal rites, when you pay someone else to do it, the whole thing kind of falls apart. The person you hired, they're just doing a job. But that deep personal connection, the real heart of the whole thing, that belongs to you, and you just can't pay someone to feel it for you.
And, that leads us straight into our first big idea here. What happens when these traditions become just empty transactions, rites that have lost all their meaning?
I mean, this is the perfect example, isn't it? It perfectly illustrates a hollow ritual. Tending a grave was never about just pulling weeds. So if you pay someone to do it while the family's off having fun somewhere else, you've completely missed the point. You've skipped the most important part, the personal act of showing up and remembering.
So here's the crucial thing. That physical gravesite, it's really a tool for you, for the person who's still living. It's meant to be a place for you to go and reflect. Yeah, you remember your ancestor, of course, but it's also a space to think about your own life, to really feel your own place in your family story, and just to have a quiet moment to communicate. The real work is all internal.
And this really drives the idea home. When you pour a drink as an offering, the spirit isn't literally drinking it. The liquid is just a symbol, a physical thing to focus on. What you're actually pouring out is your heart, your mind, your sincere intention. Without that, it's just spilling a drink on the ground.
Okay, so if personal intention is the absolute key, how does that square with some of the biggest goals we have for ancestral rites? Well, that brings us to what our source calls the myth of Chendo.
So Chondo is this really widespread idea that we can and that we should perform these big ceremonies to send an ancestor spirit to a better place, like heaven. It's often seen as this final, very important duty. And it's a duty that people believe can be fulfilled by doing the right rituals, which often cost a lot of money.
And that really brings us to the core of the issue. Can a spiritual journey actually be bought? Can money in these really elaborate ceremonies performed by a stranger actually pave the way for a spirit?
And from this perspective, the answer is a hard no. You just can't. The path to a higher realm isn't some door that we can force open for someone else. It's something that just happens, automatically, when the spirit itself gets clear, when it finally lets go of all its earthly baggage and finds its own way. It's their journey, not an event we get to control.
So if Chendo is the big misunderstanding, what's the real deal? Well, the source offers us a totally different concept, a true path, called Jidoro.
Let's just put these two side by side because this is where it gets really interesting. Chendo is all about sending. It's a transaction, a forced action. But Jidoro, well, that's about guiding. It's not a transaction at all. It's an education. It's about helping a spirit that's lost get its bearings so it can choose its own path, voluntarily.
I love this way of thinking about it. You're not forcing someone onto a bus and yelling, "Go!" You're basically giving a lost traveler a map and maybe pointing out a few landmarks. The journey itself, the decision to actually walk that path, that's still completely up to them. Your role is just to be a guide, to offer a little clarity.
So why would a spirit even be lost in the first place? What's stopping them from seeing this map we're talking about? Well, it all comes down to their lingering attachments to the world they left behind.
The key word here is jipchak, and you can just think of it as the spiritual baggage that a soul is still carrying around. It's all the unresolved feelings, the regrets, the desires that are still tying it to this world and weighing it down.
In this baggage, it can be anything, right? It could be a grudge they just never let go of, or maybe an intense, consuming worry for the family they left behind, or just deep regret over things they did, or maybe things they didn't do. These are really powerful emotional anchors.
So jipchak isn't just heavy, it's blinding. A spirit that's totally consumed by these attachments is basically unable to see in the next dimension. Their vision is just clouded, their focus is still locked on the life they just left, and that makes it pretty much impossible to see the path forward.
And that is exactly what Jidoro is all about. It's about helping the spirit understand its own attachments, to see why they don't matter anymore. By offering wisdom, a guide can help the spirit willingly let go of these burdens. And when they do that, it's like the blinders come off. Now, at this point, you're probably wondering, okay, this is pretty fascinating, but what does it have to do with me? Well, honestly, it has everything to do with you. This is where it gets incredibly personal.
This right here is maybe the most powerful idea in this whole discussion.
The source is arguing that your ability to help your ancestor is directly, and I mean directly, tied to your own personal growth. Your spiritual state and their spiritual state are completely linked.
And this slide shows you exactly how that link works. It's this amazing, powerful cycle. So it starts with you. When you, the living descendant, really strive to learn, to live a better, more correct life, you generate a kind of spiritual merit or clarity. And guess what? Your ancestor gets to share in that. It helps them get clear. And then, as they find their way, they're in a much better position to support you in return. It's a virtuous cycle. You literally lift each other up.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? Think of it like a shared spiritual bank account. Every bit of effort you put into your own life makes a direct deposit of merit into your ancestors' account. And what that really means is that your own personal development is the most important ancestral rite you could ever perform.
So, we'll end on this question for you to think about. We usually think of honoring our ancestors as an external act, something we do for them. But what if this whole perspective is right? What if the most profound, the most effective way to help your ancestors find their path is to get busy finding your own?